my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 3 of the acoustic guitar bridge replacement. So in episode 2, part 2, you saw me actually removing the bridge. It wasn't too difficult, as I said, because it had recently been reattached, so the glue was relatively fresh. There's always a little bit of trauma to the guitar when you remove a bridge, but it was nothing major. It was just I'd just chipped a little bit of the finish off on basically one corner of where the bridge was, and I've sorted that out. I mean, it was literally it just chipped the lack of finish, or whatever kind of finish it is. Hadn't split or damaged the wood in any way, so I was able to just touch that a little bit up, and it's fine. So I also said in the previous video that one of the bridges I'd ordered had arrived, but it wasn't the right size and shape, so it wasn't going to work, and that I was waiting for 2 more to arrive. Well, they have arrived, and kind of got the same problem with those, that neither one of those were exactly the same size, shape and dimensions of the original one. So I did do a modification. I did say previously that I had an idea of how I could do a modification to make it work. Well, I'll explain that shortly, but just to show you that at the moment I've got the new bridge dry clamped onto the guitar, just to make sure that alignment is all good. So there's no glue on there. It's just I just temporarily put the clamps on with no glue, just to make sure the alignment of the bridge is correct, and I'm happy with it, and I am. So I'm now going to remove these clamps, and I'll sort of take you through what I've done modification wise on the bridge. Fairly straightforward really, and I didn't film any of it because although it was relatively straightforward, it was very, very time consuming and not particularly exciting. So let me just start by removing these clamps, and they're not on very tight. It was just to, like I said, to dry fit everything, make sure it was going to work, and it looks like it's going to be just fine. Okay, I wish I had some more of these clamps. These are, in my mind, these are the best kind of clamps to use for this kind of job. I've only got this one, and I can't seem to find any more. Okay, so let me just take this clamp off. So I've got 2 of these clamps. I've got a wooden one and this aluminium one, and I've decided I'm using this aluminium one on this application. It just seems to work better than the wooden one. When I say that, it just seems to fit better. So let me just take that out, take this one out. Carefully. Okay, that's that. That's that. Oop. That's that. Okay, so let me just show you this. So this is the new bridge I have. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Now, so it's kind of difficult to explain, but what you're looking at right now is the new bridge. What you're looking at now is the old bridge. So basically what I did was I took the old bridge and I ran it through my thickness sander over and over again, so sanding off the top part of the bridge, ran it through the thickness sander over and over again until I basically ended up with just the base, the bottom part of the bridge, and about 1.5 millimeter thick at the most. Just kept running it through, so I basically just had the bottom part of the bridge and all flat. So obviously I'd sanded all of this top part off, and it was just a flat, thin base of the original bridge. And then I took the new bridge and I sanded that down as well. You can see it's pretty thin. If I compare that to, I haven't got one to hand. So, you know, I've taken off the top and the underneath as well, you know, shaved some off or sanded it off to make it nice and thin. And then I glued the base, if you like, of the original bridge onto the bottom of this one. And then I had to do around the edges where there were, you know, differences. I had to do a little bit of filling and filing and sanding and contouring to get it to match up. So this light's not great. Let me just turn this light around, see if that'll help. Not a lot. So this edge, you know, I got that to line up perfectly, because what I found as well doing measurements, this slot is in the exact same position as the old bridge, whereas the other two, they were in slightly different position. So, you know, I made sure these two edges lined up perfectly, and we had a little bit of overhang here, so the original bridge was, you know, sticking out a bit more, and the same that end, and we had a little bit along this edge as well. It's kind of difficult to show, but I don't know if you can see that. I kind of contoured the edges together to make it look like one piece. And it turned out pretty well. You can just about see, you know, that there's a difference there, but, you know, I haven't oiled this yet. Once I oil it, it'll all be, you know, it'll all blend in. So yeah, I basically glued the base of the old bridge onto the bottom of the new bridge, you know, and there was a little bit of overhang all the way around, so I used some wood filler, filled it in, smoothed it, you know, contoured it, filed it, sanded it, and that's why I didn't film that. It was, you know, it was quite a long time to do all that, and it's really finished up nice. I really like it. And if I just, you know, place it onto the guitar where the old bridge was, and hold it in place, it kind of locks itself into place, but not really well. So when I come to clamping it, gluing and clamping it, I'm going to have to make sure, take my time, do it carefully, and make sure it all lines up with the original footprint. And that's why I had it dry clamped at first, just to make sure it was all lining up properly, and it seems absolutely fine. So I am now at the stage of where I'm going to attach the new bridge. Okay, so there's no point waffling and wasting time. I might as well just crack on with it. Let's just turn that light around, get a bit more light on the work area. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so as you saw, I've got one of these proper guitar clamps and this extra clamp. You know, I've got all the fittings that go with the clamp, washers, screws, wing nuts. And these two little wooden blocks go under the ends of the clamp with these thumb screws that tighten it down on the ends. They're called the wings of the bridge. And I've got leather on the bottom side of those so that I don't mark the bridge. And I've also put leather on the underside of this clamp for the same reason, because that's going to be pressing down directly onto the bridge. And I want to make sure I don't leave any marks on there. Okay, so I've also got my glue, I've got a little paintbrush and some water. I've got some paper towels to clean up any excess glue squeeze out. And the thing I bought recently is this roller. It's a rubber roller. It's for printing and things like that really, but it will be really useful for spreading the glue on the bottom of the bridge to make sure I get nice even coverage but a really thin layer. So I ain't going to waffle anymore. I'm going to make a start putting this all together. So first of all, I'm going to put some glue on the guitar itself, try and get a nice thin even layer. Now I won't be able to use the roller for this because it will just spread it all over the place. Oh, incidentally, I've also plugged the original bridge pin holes in the guitar, because the bridge pin holes on the new bridge are on a slightly different arrangement, so they wouldn't line up. So I've plugged the holes and I'm going to re-drill them. I've re-drilled the outer two, so that I can attach my bridge clamp, and I'll do the rest later once it's all set down, glued down properly. Okay, so I'm going to use the brush to spread the glue on the guitar itself. A nice, thin, even layer. I've said many times in the past, you want 100% coverage, but as little glue as possible, but a nice, you know, thin, even layer. Okay, so try to get as minimal mess as possible, because I want as little squeeze out as possible. Okay. Right. So that's more or less it on the guitar itself. Try and get right up to the edges without going over. Okay, it's looking good. Right, so now I'll put some glue on the underside of the bridge. I'm going to use my roller to spread it out. Haven't used it yet, so I don't know how well it will work. It should be good. Oh, nearly dropped it already. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, you see. It makes it really thin, but even at the same time. So that's really what I'm looking for there. Quite fiddly, because it's such a thin bridge now, where I've thinned it down so much. It's actually a little bit too thin there, so let me just put a little bit more on there and get that with a brush. I mean, that roller does work, it's just difficult to hold the bridge because it's so thin and use that roller, so I'm just going to use the bridge. Sorry, the brush. Okay, let me just put that down for 1 second. I need to very quickly go and soak this in water before it all dries on there. Won't be 1 second. Sorry about that, I should have had that sorted out before I started. Right, okay, so time now to fit the bridge. Okay, so get it lined up as best as possible by eye, first of all. Going to get some paper towel and water ready, clean up any glue squeeze out as we go. Okay, so get the first bolt in, through from the underside, the inside of the guitar. That one doesn't fit, so let's try the other one. That's better. Come on, through you go. There we go. Okay, let's get the other one in. Okay. But I don't want to, you know, obviously I don't want to rush this, but I also want to make sure I get it lined up before the glue starts to set, because it can start to stick fairly quickly. I'm just going to take the excess glue off first of all. Actually, I'll press it down while I'm doing that and it will squeeze a bit out. It's not quite lined. There we go, it's looking good. Okay, so put the clamp on now, and I'll hold those 2 bolts in place until I've got it on. Okay, washer, big washer, small washer. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, sort of, kinda. Wing nut, So I'll just get it on first and then tighten up afterwards. Okay, big washer, small washer, wing nut. And I've also got an Allen key here ready to hold those bolts, screws from the inside to tighten up. Just make sure that's lining up first. Okay, let's see how that looks. It's looking pretty good. So I'll get these wing nuts down now. I won't do them too tight just yet because I'm sure the bridge will move and I'll need to make sure it's lined up before I clamp it down. So I'm just nipping them up, not even hand tight. Okay. Right, so starting to squeeze the glue out. So I want to make sure we're lined up before I clamp it down too much. Get rid of that squeeze out. Keep doing this as I go along. This is one thing that the customer specified actually. He said, I don't want to see any glue. And it is right. I mean, it doesn't look very good if you still see glue. You shouldn't do if it's done properly. Right. Alignment's looking pretty good. So I get the Allen key in this one. Quite fiddly when you can't see what you're doing and limited space to work in. Come on. Where are you? There we go. Okay. Alright, that's still looking pretty good for alignment. Going to do it, gradually a bit at a time. Make sure the alignment stays right. It's looking good right now. Even though I put a really thin layer of glue on both surfaces, quite a bit of it's squeezing out, and that's a good thing. That shows that even though you've got a thin layer, it's making good contact and squeezing out the excess. So let's just slipped a little bit. Make sure that stays lined up. Let's get that other one tightened down a bit more. Blimey, time has gone quick. Okay. That's slipped out. Okay, right, that's looking really good. Alignment's looking spot on. Again, it's still nowhere near, as tight as it will be yet. I'm just taking my time because for this particular job, alignment is most important, and that is looking right now perfect. I like perfect. Okay. Right, so before I tighten that down anymore, I'm going to get the wings tightened down a little bit. So put that block of wood in there, leather side down. Just do that thumb screw up a bit, and already a huge amount of squeeze out, so I'll not clamp it down too much just yet. Get the other one in the other end. Okay. Clean up the glue. Yeah, quite a lot of glue squeeze out, which as I said is a good thing. Despite having a really thin layer of glue, it shows that it's making really good contact. It's quite tricky to get in some areas, so I'll just use the paintbrush to scoop out that excess glue. Yeah, tricky getting underneath there. Good. Okay. Right, so just one more final check of alignment and it looks spot on. So I'll tighten these screws down first of all, the wing nuts. Come on. There we go. Right, that's nice and tight. Try this side. That's nice and tight, and a bit more squeeze out. And this back end is squeezing out a lot. Right, let's get the brush in there. It's quite tricky to get in there. That's got it. Nice. Let's get a fresh bit of tissue. That's torn to pieces. It's looking really good. Right, tighten these wings down a bit more now. Okay, that's probably good enough. And yet more glue squeeze out. Almost there. And the other end, a ton more squeeze out again. That's looking pretty good. Wow, it's just glue just keeps squeezing out. Make sure I get every little last bit of residue off of there. The good thing about glue on a finished surface is that it does clean up easily. Even after it's dry, it will usually kind of rub off if it's a very smooth, shiny surface. Okay, I think that's good. Okay. Right, so I'll now put the wooden clamp in the middle. Which again I've got, you know, leather pads on top and bottom to protect all the wood. And it goes that way. Okay. Might get a bit more squeeze out where this goes on as well. Yeah, tiny bit there. Okay. Right, that is looking absolutely perfect. So, I'm going to leave this probably 24 hours to dry, because I want to make sure this is well and truly on there. I know it's going to be a good joint, I just want to make sure that it's, you know, really solid before I do any of the other work. So that's going to be left 24 hours to set up, dry, solidify. Okay, and then the next episode will be the setup, really, which I'll go into more detail at the time, but that's that stage finished. The bridge is now being glued on. That should be done by tomorrow when I will continue. So, hope you're enjoying this and you're, you know, sort of learning something about this kind of work. In the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out. Ooh.